God put a mark on the damned that would let others know they are not to be killed. The sin pumped through the veins of one descendant to the next. All bore the same mark. The hunt continues for the one that got away, but my mission beckons me forth. This feeling I have is getting worse. Something pulls me west. I must find out why. I am the last one of us left. The blood of my family runs through my veins, and no one can take that away from me. Florida's Park had better be ready for me.
All right, 1 2 1 2.
God put a mark on the damned that would let others know they are not to be killed. The sin pumped through the veins of one descendant to the next. All bore the same mark. The hunt continues for the one that got away, but my mission beckons me forth. This feeling I have is getting worse. Something pulls me west. I must find out why. I am the last one of us left. The blood of my family runs through my veins, and no one can take that away from me. Flores Park had better be ready for me.
Yo, Blood Ruth. Okay, let's take a look at some Rippaverse before we get into some topics here. 2025 calendar for Rippaverse.
2024 has been our most successful year, and we hope to have many, many more. We've got a lot planned for 2025, and what better way to get you prepared for that than a 2025 calendar? Our first ever official Rippaverse calendar is now up for pre-order in the Rippaverse store. It features brand new original art from our amazing stable of creators. It features art from Alpha Core, Horseman, and Zaylan artist Joe Bennett, Yaira artist Deborah Carita, Isum artist Cliff Richards, Blood Ruth artist Michael Montanak, Salvage artist Bart Sears, cover artist Wagner Rice and Ronald Sanferi, and of course Saoirse artist and our art director Kanan White. It also features colors from Marcos Martins, Jay Brown, and Wilson Gold. Shipping will start in the middle of December, so if you pre-order right now, you'll have them by the new year. Head over to Rippaverse.com and get that first official Rippaverse calendar. Thanks for being a fan and customer.
Who the hell is this guy? What's he want? Where's he come from? After every soldier I have with him and he kicks their ass. Outman. Outgunned. And he walks away clean. With my money. Now what are y'all gonna do about that?
Turn us loose, Tuna.
Let us do what we do.
Yo, what's good? I just got in the mail today my Horseman stuff.
What's up, Rippaverse family? It's Dean Kane here, and I'll be...
So I thought I'd start off with a little Rippaverse before we do a couple topics. Happy to see that. Got the shirt in. This one goes hard right here. Kind of like a Punisher vibe to me. This is Ripperverse Horseman. I love the black and white style. I am a sucker for it. They got a whole book. They got a whole Bloodroot. I think the whole book is in black and white. I love the just classic black and white. Is dope. And then here's the comic. I obviously haven't read it. I just literally opened it. Here we go. So looking forward to reading that with the kids. They all saw the trailer. Now that's the homie Eric July. If you don't know him, I'm a big fan. Big fan of his work and what he's putting together there at the Ripperverse, dropping banger after banger. The Gooden book was fire. The Yaira book was fire. They're on a roll over at the Ripperverse. Go visit ripperverse.com. Support Eric July. What's good? There's a lot been going on. I haven't had a chance to really opine on a lot of it. And I think the most recent thing is this Matt Gaetz stuff. And I'm just gonna kind of go ad hoc right now on it, just giving you my thoughts. My first thoughts are, I almost feel like I have to do two shows. I almost have to do a show for people who are Zionists, or we're 6 minutes in. Yeah. I have to do a show for Zionists, and then I have to do a show for non-Zionists. Basically, I have to cover the takes of both. I feel like that's what I have to do now, because it's just so different. For a non-Zionist, even for a Zionist, you might really like Matt Gaetz, and even for non-Zionists, I even heard people like Nick Fuentes talk about how he kind of likes, or Matt Gaetz is better than others. I'm just in a different place. Let me just first start off with Trump and his cabinet picks and all that. If you are a Zionist or you don't care about that, you should be happy. I think you should be really happy with what's going on with Donald Trump. He's bringing in people and he's being more aggressive. I don't know what else you would want. I honestly don't know. If you supported Donald Trump and voted for Donald Trump at this point with his picks for cabinet and outside of cabinet, you should be elated. You should be happy about it. And it looks like he has learned from his first go at it. The Matt Gaetz thing is an outlier. The Matt Gaetz thing doesn't on surface look good. I still haven't mentally unpacked it though. I don't know if it was strategic. It doesn't seem like it would be strategic, because why would you nominate him and then have him drop out so quickly? It doesn't make sense for it to have been a strategy like that unless Donald Trump was really doing it out of the kindness of his heart. And he doesn't come across as a bro like that to me. That's going to just help Matt Gaetz get out of a scandal out of the kindness of his heart. I don't know what quid pro quo Matt Gaetz could provide Donald Trump. So that looks like it was a mistake in a way, but it's not a big mistake. Who cares? Matt Gaetz, if you don't know, was nominated for Attorney General of all positions, and then was it today? I don't even know. That stuff is going so fast. I can't even remember. Was it today or yesterday? We find out that he has dropped out. No matter where you are, Scott, you're right. Scott Thom says AIPAC is in control. That's true. And that's pertinent to talk about with Matt Gaetz, because a lot of people have brought up that he's not under the umbrella of AIPAC. He's one of the few people in Washington, D.C. altogether. Forget about the House. He's one of the few people in the Capitol, in D.C. in general. Not even politicians, federal workers, all of them. There's not many who are outside of the control of AIPAC and the larger picture of Israel. So you look at that, and I've kind of waxed poetically about Matt Gaetz in the past, and I'm not now. But let's take a look at, I think, the definitive thread. The definitive post on what happened with Matt Gaetz came from Mel, Village Crazy Lady on X. This is long time. I don't think she would mind me describing her as friend of show, just like from, I've been following her probably since 2020. And I started the show in 2020. I've been following her, and you can go back to old videos. Sometimes I'll just happen on an old video of mine. I'm like, oh, wow, that was like 2021. I was talking about Mel. It was like this Twitter account, Mel. And there are not many Twitter accounts that I'm still, through my evolution, talking about in this positive way from 2020 to now. There's somebody named Shauna on there. It's her. It's not many. Maybe Dr. Carlin Boriseko. It's not many at all. And this is a tweet that unpacks what happened with Matt Gaetz. I don't know. I have no idea what happened with Matt Gaetz. I'm still trying to look at it. This thread, though, gives me the most meat on a bone to figure out what's going on, because we've known about the scandal and the allegations for quite some time, with the alleged things that happened with Matt Gaetz. But this is the unpacking that I haven't seen anywhere else. But you tell me. Let me just go through this. It's a very in-depth and well-written kind of story that Mel told here. This took a lot of time. So she says that, I'm just going to paraphrase through it so we can get through it quickly to give you the gist of it, that she's going through and she's going to set the scene like, wait a second, I don't know if you've been told the full story. 10 million views. Wow. It's well-deserved. So part one, she doesn't even talk about Matt Gaetz at all. We got to talk about Joel Greenberg. Story begins in fall of 2019 in Florida, and we're going to tell the story through Mel. And I've got to look at this and research a lot of it, but it's a great story to tell, and she did a lot of work to research this. She's very well researched. This is why mainstream media is done. It's done. And I was wrong because I always said mainstream media still has the control. But obviously that's slipping or just flat out wrong based on the 2024 results. They did the lawfare, all that stuff against Trump, and the results of the 2024 election say that there's enough people who say they don't want that. So I think it could be maybe Tucker's views. Maybe they don't mean like when I talk. What I'm referring to is, in the past I've talked about how, well, Tucker might have 100 million views on this thing on X, and I'm like, I would still think on Fox he would have more impact. I don't know if that's true anymore. I don't know if that was true when I said it. I don't know, but the balance is. I can tell you this: the balance is more in favor of against corporate media than I thought. With Trump winning, I did not think Trump was going to win. I'm out of the prediction business. But just in general, just saying, I didn't think Trump was going to win because the midterms were not a rebuke of anything. But the midterms don't mean anything because Trump wasn't on the ballot. At least they don't mean anything compared to the general election. It will be very interesting to see in 2028. We got to see if we still have a country. But in 2028, when Trump is not on the ballot, it'll be interesting to see what happens at that point. Is it going to be like a midterm, or is there going to be rallying around somebody else? But right now we're in the place where if you rallied around Trump in 2024, then you wanted to see probably Matt Gaetz be AG, and he was not. So what happened? Because you wanted to have Matt Gaetz as AG, so you could say, well, Marco Rubio will ignore that because it's balanced out with Matt Gaetz. We all know Tulsi Gabbard and RFKJ doesn't balance out Marco Rubio. Matt Gaetz does more. So this is the backdrop that she set the story on. The first term is the tax collector for the Seminole County. This is Joel Greenberg, everybody. The first character in this story is Joel Greenberg. He's a classic rich kid, is how she described him, who basically never had to stress about anything because daddy always had the money. And that's what he was born into, and that's what he got. But she's just telling you this is the type of dude Joel Greenberg was or is. So there were rumors here that came out And the rumors inspired somebody else here named Brian. I don't know how to pronounce the last name. Looks like Butte, to throw his hat into the ring and challenge Greenberg in the Republican primary slated for the following year. So this is, I'm just going to make sure I don't skip anything here. The way the threads work is just so annoying. It's just so, you would think it wouldn't be that hard. But, so just threw his hat and wanted to run. So let me look at this post here. Said that it was awash with rumors about the federal investigation into Greenberg's crypto scam. So let me go up a little bit here. Okay. I think I'm missing a follow-up here. But he was going to run for office, and then he got challenged. Despite the many advantages Greenberg held over Butte in the race, incumbency, wealth, name recognition, and this is local. I mean, this is not a Senate or anything. Greenberg's significant criminal activity as a tax collector likely contributed to him becoming obsessed with destroying Butte, both publicly and privately. I should look up, and I don't know how to pronounce this bruh's name. So I'm going to look up how to pronounce his name real quick. I never heard of, I think I heard of Greenberg because of the allegations before. I never followed this dude before here. And it's part of the story. So Brian is a Florida school teacher who played a significant role in exposing the criminal activities of Joel Greenberg. And Mel says she just read a lot of these articles and put the story together with it. And it's very good. To pronounce it, it's pronounced boy, but a short Boit baby, something like that. Butte. Yeah, it's a German word. So continuing on, it's late 2019 into 2020, Greenberg rolled out a series of ever-escalating smear tactics targeting Butte. They started rather typical, labeling Butte, who's from Michigan, as a carpetbagger. Somebody from up north trying to meddle in the business of down south. Still doing carpetbagger politics, man. That's been going on since 19th century. But they grew increasingly viscous. He created fake Facebook profiles pretending to be Butte's students, leaving comments on public posts, trashing Butte as an awful teacher and a perv. And she has the receipts here. So this is very savage for local level politics, is the first thing that came out. I'm like, man, there's a lot of power. I think it can be underrated, the power that local level politics have. But this is savage stuff here. Greenberg's antics finally reached an apex when he mailed handwritten letters to the administrators at the school where Butte taught, accusing him of assaulting his students. Smear tactics. Greenberg probably didn't expect those letters to be taken so seriously, or else he likely would have been a little more careful. But he was not, and when the letters were turned over to the local sheriff's office, both his fingerprints and DNA were lifted from them, and he was arrested on June 23rd, 2020, charged by the DOJ with stalking. At the time of his arrest, Greenberg's phone was confiscated and searched, and I believe it or not, this is where the real legal troubles began. Police found more on the cell phone. As you can imagine, you got the cell phone, everything's on there. On his cell phone, later home computers, police found evidence of Greenberg's committing damn near every crime in the book: embezzlement, drugs, prostitution, identity theft, wire fraud, crypto market manipulation, all of them. But the silver tuna, as Mel wrote, was a series of messages that occurred in the late spring through early fall of 2017 between Greenberg and a then 17-year-old girl, discussing, among other things, their many, let's just say, escapades around Florida and beyond. Further investigation revealed from that December 16th through 2018, Joel Greenberg was a customer on a sugar daddy website where he solicited various women for adult activities and services. This is where he met the aforementioned 17-year-old girl. She's reading through like indictments and all kinds of stuff here. All told, Mr. Greenberg spent over $70,000 on ladies of the night through this website, Sugar Daddy, much of which he paid for with his government-issued Amex card. These guys they feel like they're untouchable. We haven't even got to Matt Gaetz yet. We just laying the groundwork. This is just the groundwork. In August 2020, the DOJ charged Joel Greenberg, and understand that all these politicians in D.C. know all of this stuff. They charged Joel Greenberg with sex trafficking of a minor, identity theft, and production of false identification documents, among other things. Turns out in Florida, the Office of County Tax Collector doesn't just collect taxes. They also issue driver's license and state IDs. Mr. Greenberg took full advantage of this privilege during his time. Remember, we're talking about tax collector or whatever. What is the title? It's like tax collector. Tax collector's office. That's the title. Mr. Greenberg taking full advantage of these privileges. He not only created multiple false Florida ID cards for himself, he also created a fake ID for his underage lover after finding out that she had been lying to him about her age. So you can imagine, maybe he did. I don't know what's going on here. I'm just reading you what Mel kind of broke down. And you can imagine he's like, wait a second, how old are you again? I mean, he probably thought she was 18. He could have thought she was 18, could have not cared to ask, didn't want to know, who knows? But then he finds out the truth, allegedly. And he's like, she's anywhere from 11 to whatever, a day before being 18. He's like, we might need to accelerate that process because this arrangement that we have, I kind of like it. So here's an ID. You're 18 now. Congratulations. But this is where Matt Gaetz comes into the story. From what Mel can gather, Gaetz and Greenberg became acquainted at some point, potentially friends. And there's a picture on Twitter with Matt Gaetz in the background. Look at young Matt Gaetz. There's Greenberg. And look at this. This is from Joel Greenberg's account. And how does Roger Stone come up in this? Wow. That was a surprise for me. I was surprised, but then not surprised. Pronounced Tom. Sorry. That's why sometimes people pronounce the TH and they don't like Peter Thiel. And then sometimes I hear people say Peter Thiel. I'm like, I don't know. My bad, Scott. But that Roger Stone is there with Matt Gaetz and Joel Greenberg. Roger Stone's is just everywhere from establishment to MAGA. He's just everywhere. He's kind of like one of those, I just hate to say he's very smart, but he comes across as just a sleazy type politician. I think it's safe to say that the two did become friends. That's what she said there. After getting arrested in 2020, at some point, Mr. Greenberg, remember this is the one who had all these other problems, or his lawyers, approached Bill Barr's DOJ with a proposition. He claims he can provide evidence that a sitting congressman, Gaetz, had engaged with acts with the minor. Now, so what we're looking at here is potentially Bill Barr, Mr. Establishment, might not like Matt Gaetz. And just because Matt Gaetz and Bill Barr probably don't see eye to eye in a lot of things doesn't mean I'm going to side with Matt Gaetz overall. There's a lot of people who say base things. I will agree with them. If Matt Gaetz continues to do that, I will. Charlie Kirk, anybody. Doesn't mean I necessarily will rock with them or overall support them as some type of great person or politician. Bill Barr's DOJ then proceeds to open a secret investigation into these allegations. These are the investigations that never came, never pressed charges. There was never indictment. That remained because they didn't have solid witness testimony. It was very shaky. That remains a secret until it's leaked the next spring, March. This is when the story came out, 2021, New York Times. And then shortly after that, Matt Gaetz went on with Tucker Carlson. You might remember that. It was an awkward interview. Earlier that day, the New York Times released a bombshell story about Matt Gaetz. Remember, Joel Greenberg got hemmed up. Joel Greenberg, or his lawyers, allegedly went to Bill Barr and said, hey, we can give you some information on a sitting congressman. And Bill Barr's establishment, Gaetz, they're both Republicans, but we know that it's not really the same party. DOJ opened an official investigation into Gaetz over the allegations that he engaged in stuff with someone who was anywhere from 11 months to a day too young. Following Tucker's opening monologue, he introduced Matt Gaetz in this awkward segment. I don't think she didn't put the video there, but it was awkward, and gave him free rein to tell his side of the story. Anyone watching is unlikely to soon forget the absolute bizarre story that Gaetz proceeded to tell. Here's the story that Gaetz told. It involved a $25 million extortion threat against his father. So we have a new character in the plot. Against his father to help free an American hostage in Iran that would then be paid back with a presidential pardon for Gaetz on all these charges. So let me stop there. $25 million extortion threat against his father to help free an American hostage in Iran that would then be paid back with a presidential pardon for Gaetz on all these charges. If you're just joining right now, what we're trying to unpack by, I hope, I'm going to say the great Mel on X, who's done some just amazing work on X. Amazing work. It's like she's kind of like Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer just I mean, she gets stuff fed to her, so she has so many stories. But she's like Laura Loomer without the Laura Loomer. she's like extract. You know how I say Whitney Webb is Alex Jones if he was more professional and polished? It's the same thing as Mel is like a polished more. And I'm a big Laura Loomer supporter. Don't get me wrong. If I wasn't, I would tell you. I like Laura Loomer a lot, but that's how I see it. I kind of see that's how Mel is. She's like Whitney Webb to Alex Jones, Mel Village Crazy Lady to Laura Loomer. So if you're just joining, we're trying to unpack what happened with Matt Gaetz. It's confusing. As you can see, we're telling the story. I've read through it only once so far. This is my second time, and it's confusing. We're talking about Joel Greenberg. He goes to Bill Barr. Then Matt Gaetz goes on with Tucker Carlson. Then he starts talking about his father. And I don't. And at this point, I'm like, I don't know what's going on with this. Continuing on, Gaetz demanded that the FBI release the tapes they had in the possession of the recordings made by his father in interviews with his extortionist. He didn't hesitate for a second to name the alleged extortionist, David McGee. He said he was a former prosecutor for the Northern District of Florida who now worked at the Biggs and Lane law firm. And she just puts the picture there. He was resolute and unafraid when talking, and yet he sounded like an absolute lunatic. I know. I was watching it live. I wasn't the only one. She did a good job with this thread, man. This is not easy. I've tried doing not anything this big, but to kind of design your thread out, because she's setting it up. So she's saying he was resolute and unafraid, but he sounded like a lunatic. But there's one thing no one's going to say about Matt Gaetz is that he's a lunatic, or at least that he's stupid. No one's going to say that. So why would he sound so crazy? So she's setting it up. Well, it's because he wasn't. Tucker, she still said it. I forgot about this one. Tucker was clearly extremely annoyed and unconvinced by the end, but Tucker has, we all have weaknesses. And yet 3.5 years later, I know that everything he said was true. You see how she set that up? That was dope. She was like, he was resolute and unafraid when talking, but he sounded like a lunatic. She's talking about Matt Gaetz telling this story. I sounded like a lunatic reading the story. I'm just reading what happened from Mel. So she's like, he sounded like a lunatic. And she's like, I was watching live. I know I wasn't the only one that thought he was a lunatic. And then she fast forward and said 3.5 years later, Mel is confident and says, I now know that everything he said was true. It's interesting. None of that. I haven't heard him talk about that since. Maybe I missed it. Bob Levinson was the main man in Iran. The official story about Bob Levinson is that he was a retired FBI agent. You know, whenever somebody goes with the official story, it means that there's an unofficial story. He was contracted by a semi-off-the-book CIA unit to run a covert op in Iran. He was kidnapped from Kish Island following a meeting with an American fugitive living in Iran that had been arranged by a former NBC producer named Ira Silverman. So we're talking about the hostage, basically, that they're looking to get back. There's other rabbit holes that you could go down, is what Mel said there. So Levinson gets kidnapped in March of 2007, and his disappearance was acknowledged by George Bush in June of 2007 as concerning. But no one from the federal government will admit that Levinson was working for the CIA. Unbeknownst to anyone at the time, from 2009 to 2011, the FBI was running its own covert operation to get the retired agent back, and they had devised an ingenious plan to keep the whole thing off the books. So pause. You see where Mel's going. The whole thing, she's basically, here's my interpretation. She's basically saying that the whole thing is a CIA op to keep the plan off the books. Let's continue on. She goes on. They contracted with the Russian billionaire, Oleg, I don't know how to pronounce the last, Deripaska, to pay for the rescue mission, $20 million in total, in exchange for a fast-tracked green card for this person, this Russian billionaire and his family. Here comes back David McGee. During his time at the DOJ, McGee worked an organized crime task force. That's how he knew Bob Levinson, who specialized in Russian money laundering. McGee became a liaison between the Levinson and family and the Russian billionaire. So she says, let's stop here, as nuts stinks to high heaven. To make matters worse, who was the point man? Andrew McCabe. This is just unbelievable. It's so unbelievable that she starts. Anywho, the FBI team gets a couple proof of life videos that he's still alive, and they have a soft arrangement in place when the Clinton State Department steps in and shuts the whole thing down. Something got them spooked. What that was has never been disclosed. Who knows what's going on there? After 2011, Levinson is never heard from again. All along, the Iranians deny any involvement, as expected. So eventually, the CIA gets desperate, and a handful of classified documents confirming Levinson's contract with the CIA are leaked to the AP December of 2013. And we're going to get back to Matt Gaetz. We got to get that. We got to flesh this out. Still, the Iranians don't budge. This was surprising because at this point, they no longer had any reason to lie. The Americans weren't lying anymore. Time to start negotiations. But nope, the news was greeted with radio silence. Years go by. No more pictures or videos ever arrive. And then comes the Iranian nuclear deal of 2016. Unbeknownst to most, the Obama team had negotiated the release of 4 Americans being held in Iran in exchange for the U.S. dropping charges against 7 Iranian nationals for sanction violations. Bob Levinson was not one of the Americans. Remember, he's the one that is a hostage. He's being held, and he was not released at that time. And that pissed off certain people. The American Jewish community was pissed off. They already saw the Iranian deal as a stab in the back to Israel. So that's when they were actually not happy with that. And then on top of that, Bob Levinson wasn't in the prisoner exchange. Many took it as a deliberate betrayal of American Jews. Flash forward some more. Trump takes office, cancels the nuclear deal. Christine Levinson sues Iran in courts and is awarded $1.2 billion judgment in January. And in March of 2020, the U.S. government declares Bob Levinson legally dead. Case closed, right? Wrong. At some point in summer of 2020, a former Air Force intelligence officer named Bob Kent claims to have received news from his network in Iraq alleging that Bob Levinson was still alive. That's why when you see all these people like Israel unlived this dude and this, I don't know who's alive or who's not. Kent even claims he received pictures to prove it. So Kent contacts David McGee, who then tells Kent about the last privately funded search and rescue for Levinson. And that's when Kent hatches the plan to rope Don Gaetz, this is Matt Gaetz' father, into paying for this one. This is crazy, man. This is crazy. I'm going to have to I have to kind of put this on a chart or something, man. This is wild. Now, I know what you're all wondering, Mel says. How did these men know about the Matt Gaetz investigation? To my knowledge, that has never been revealed, but we all know. I mean, if I had to guess, I'd say somebody, she's covering herself. That's her way of saying allegedly. I'd say somebody in the DOJ or FBI leaked that information to McGee, who then told Kent about it when he was contacted, but that's still only half the answer is, I think, what she was saying there. This is part of the story where I start spiraling. I start wondering just how long this plan had been in the works. Nothing adds up. But for now, I'll spare you my suspicions and stick to what I know. Part 3, the grand plan. It was March 16th, 2021, when Matt Gaetz' father received the first text message from Bob Kent about his grand plan. In exchange for Don fronting Mr. Kent's rescue mission of Bob Levinson, remember, for whatever reason, it appears that the American Jew or Jewish people in America, prominent people, really wanted this Bob Levinson back from Iran. Unnamed agents with powerful contacts in the Biden administration would convince the president to give Don's son, Matt, a full presidential pardon on his looming sex trafficking charges. The price, $25 million. She says, I wish I had a picture of Don's face when he read that. Naturally, Gaetz Sr. was incredulous. What in the world was this man talking about? Matt wasn't facing any sex trafficking charges. Don called Matt, who immediately told him to contact the local FBI office. The FBI suggested that Don meet with David McGee wearing a wire. Man, you can make a movie out of this, man. You can make a mini-series out of this. HBO, they always do a great job on this. So HBO needs to just pick this up. However, just before the meeting took place, Don requested a written acknowledgement from the FBI on the purpose of this investigation and meeting. He was worried something he said could be used against Matt, obviously, in the case they still didn't know anything about. The FBI just has cases on people. The FBI was reluctant. And I wouldn't be surprised to have a case on me. Just all you have to do, what's the case? It's just a new file in a folder. It's a new folder. Just put a folder and then you say have a case. You can do a lot of stuff. The FBI was reluctant at first, but they eventually agreed. The very next day, the New York Times ran the leak on the DOJ's case against Gaetz. So you see it tying in. This is right when Gaetz' father said, I want this stuff in writing, what's going on here. The next day, so we know what happened, how the New York Times, basically when I say the New York Times is a CIA rag, it's a CIA rag. Going back and watching the Tucker Gaetz interview again this week, everything he said finally made sense. The FBI had planned to use, it's almost like if you were coming up on Thanksgiving and you just kind of splurt out everything about the JQ as everybody's trying to cut the turkey or somebody's trying to get their portion of turkey. It's just like they're going to think you're a lunatic. It doesn't matter if what you're saying is true or not. It doesn't matter if you're talking about the JFK unliving or whatever you're knowledgeable about. You're going to look like a lunatic when a normie hears it. Matt Gaetz went on with Tucker. He said everything in this thing basically concisely what Mel's saying. And you can imagine everybody's like, this is crazy. Even Tucker was like, this is crazy. And Tucker is pretty connected with all this stuff. I mean, he tried out for the CIA. The FBI had planned to use Don's meeting with McGee against Matt, the dirty FBI. So now you see why they're so against Matt Gaetz. This whole thing was the FBI trying to get Matt Gaetz to set him up to bring this Levinson back undercover in a way. But at this point, it wasn't really undercover, but who's really paying attention to the nitty-gritty of all this stuff? So you can see why all the deep state people were against Matt Gaetz. That's really what it's about. The quasi-immunity demand from Don squashed that, so they leaked the story to the New York Times when he said, hey, I need this in writing, guys. The New York Times, they just went to the New York Times and said, and buried the wiretaps. McGee and Kent denied everything. They said there was no extortion, of course. It was a simple proposition. They accused Matt of using this to distract from his charges. Former Air Force intelligence officer accused of trying to extort Matt Gaetz breaks silence to admit he did ask Congressman's father for $25 million. So they admitted it. But says it was to rescue American hostage Robert Levinson from Iran. That looks like I think that's Daily Mail is what she's talking about there. That's wild, man, how they can just openly admit this stuff. I've said this even when I was even more blue-pilled when I started this whole thing. Even when I was more blue-pilled, I always said, if you listen close enough, the truth is out there. They will tell you the truth. There's a lot of lies. Don't get me wrong. But they will also tell you the truth. It's very common where they just blurt out the truth. So for whatever reason, Robert Levinson was a special Jew, and they wanted him back. So they said, yeah, we tried to extort Matt Gaetz, basically his father. They tried to extort his father for $25 million, but it's okay because it was to rescue, they didn't say the Jew, they said to rescue American hostage. I would bet he has dual citizenship. American hostage Robert Levinson in Iran. Crazy work. This is just crazy work, man. A third man was eventually charged with wire fraud in relation to the case, and then the FBI just drops it all and pretends like none of it happened. But wait, there's more, because this story wasn't already weird enough, Mel says. So at the same time that Matt Gaetz' father, Don, was getting those messages from Kent saying, I need that $25 million, and then we'll drop the charges, Scott Adams, Dilbert, receives a message from an acquaintance of his, Jacob Novak, who works as the media director for the Israeli consulate. The first one arrives the Saturday before the story breaks. How did Dilbert get involved? This can't be real. This is insane, man. You could imagine the first time I'm reading this, I'm like, what the hell? I can picture Mel reading through this, like just connecting the dots, kind of like whatever her name was from one of my favorite shows, the Showtime show, the terrorist show. Oh my gosh, I'm getting old. I forget Homeland. Mel was probably like whatever the name was. Her name Kara, like just breaking through and Like, wait a second. No, I've never heard anybody connect these dots. I just haven't seen it. And Tucker knows this. Tucker knows this now. At some point between that interview with Tucker was 3.5 years ago. So, at some point between that interview and now, Tucker knows all of this. I haven't heard him talk about it. Have you? It's interesting. It's interesting who talks about what. But you got to give Elon credit. I knock Elon a lot, but Mel's been able to get, 10 million views on this thread, at least the first one. And look at these. I'm like 219K views, like 30 posts into a thread is amazing. It wouldn't happen without E. You might as well shut down MSNBC then, guys. I know they spun it off, sell it off, shut it down. It's over. Mel's the one in town. You just get somebody to read Mel's tweets on MSNBC, and that's the new news. Homie Ray, what's up? $2 super chat. Said, I'm going to have a ton of fun if Elon buys MSNBC, XTV. That is a real possibility. I don't know how real it is, but I've talked about, we'll take a sidetrack, come back to the Mel thread. Elon Musk, everything he does starts out as a joke. And I didn't see a ha-ha joke here. He did do some of that, but he asked how much. That wasn't really a joke, but then I think he did a couple memes or replied to a couple memes. But that's how it started. SpaceX, I believe the story is SpaceX started, Elon went to the Russians and said, I can make a rocket that can take off and land. How crazy would it be if the Russians accepted his offer? I haven't read it in a while, but I believe he went to the Russians, and that was his last people to go to get funding for SpaceX. He told the Russians, I can do this. The Russians said, no, we're good. We don't think you can do it. On the flight back to America from Russia, on napkin, he mapped it out, what he would need to do. I believe he sold his shares of the PayPal or whatever company. I forget, of PayPal or whatever the company was. But he wrote down the plans on the napkin to do the math. Could I do it? And he was like, yeah, it's possible. It's going to be tight. The probability of success, he does probability of everything, might be less than 5%, but I can do it. The story of SpaceX is unbelievable. I think it was the final time they had tried to repeatedly take off and land to cut the cost of space travel. And I think it was the last time. If this one didn't land, it's a wrap. The space program, SpaceX, is done. And he landed it. And ever since then, I think it's landed every single time. I'm not talking about Super Heavy, but the Falcon. Thank you, Array Studios, as always. Steve Johnson, whoa! What's going on? They say you should do videos like you talking to somebody you haven't seen in a while. Steve Johnson, haven't seen you in a minute. What's good? Steve Johnson's like, just how deep can shit get? Deep as the abyss, and brothers is mad fish accepted. That is from Method Man, right? What's the name? What's the name of the song? Moving on your left. It's from, I think that's just a song called Meth. Bringing back Woo. That's my era, the Wu-Tang era. And Meth's still doing it. I saw Meth do dropping rhymes with Ghostface on a recent joint. XX July, Bring the Pain. Yep, I aim to bring. How could I forget that, man? I'm so old. I was in 6th grade, I think, when that came out. I think I was in 6th grade. I came to bring the pain hardcore to the... Oh, shoot. That's some classic stuff. But XX Design says, sounds like something Vice TV might make into a documentary. I'm sure. Ray Studio says, imagine Joe Rogan, Alex Jones, Andrew Tate, Tucker, and Michael Knowles as hosts. I would love it, man. I like diversity. I would be fine with... I get like Ben Shapiro. Like, I crash out on Ben Shapiro all the time. It's not even as much as Ben Shapiro. It's just a matter of don't shut up other people. I would love a lineup on this isn't going to happen, but Ben Shapiro at one slot. Ben Shapiro would be the new Rachel Maddow. But you would have Alex Stein. You would have Nick Fuentes. You would have Sneeko. As much as I've criticized Sneeko, the bra is entertaining and very smart. Tommy Sotomayor, Elijah Schaefer. And you would have them and you just do the lineup. Steven Crowder, like, put the best. Would be a wrap. Oh, thank you, Steve Johnson. It's been a minute. $10 super chat. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate you. I think I'm gonna try to get a rhythm back. It's been off and on with rhythm and not rhythm. And I got another channel I'm trying to do that I don't crash out on the JQ and stuff like that, because that's, you do that one time too many, Steve Johnson would be like, who's that bro? Remember that bro I used to watch? And I'd be gone. Appreciate the $10 super chat, man. Always great to see you. And you have a little daughter, Steve? How old is she now? Don't tell me she's like 2 years old, because I remember when you came on the live and said she was just born. I think it was a girl, if I'm not mistaken. Don't tell me that your child, I don't remember, boy, don't tell me they're like 3 years old. I'm cutting the stream if you say something like that. Because my kids are 8 and 5 now. Ray Studio says she'll be 2. Oh, man. 2. Are you crazy? I remember it like yesterday when Steve was like, hey, I haven't been around in a minute. My little girl was just born. I was like, dang, that's great, bro. So good, man. I hope fatherhood is treating you well, man. It's special. It really is special. I was just talking to my kid, and I just told him we got our Eric July Horseman in the mail right before he went to bed. I was like, you're a little tired. I got to do a live. Let's read it tomorrow. But we watched the trailer and all that. Good times, man. Good time. Father-daughter stuff is so cool too. To see that. Ray Studio says Elon Biden MSNBC would allow us to reach the boomers who still watch mainstream. That's most of their audience. A lot of the stuff we talk about would be shocks to boomers, though. Boomers like Liz Cheney. They don't really like Sneeko. So I'm going a little bit younger. Maybe they rock with Ben Shapiro. You would have to have somebody who would the boomers rock with? I'm trying to think. They wouldn't rock with Steven Crowder. But that the money is the 18 to 50, whatever, 45 demo, so nobody even cares what the boomers think. That's why you look at every commercial, it's everything from the 90s. Every time I watch a TV show, I'm like, son, I was in high school when that. Son, that was me in middle school. I listened to that. Son, I watched that. Because it's all targeting at my age now. Everything. Everything's targeting the golden era. Ray said, nope. Ray was like, Sneeko and Nick, nope. Ain't gonna happen on my MXNBC. See, I'm more diverse than you then, Ray. See, I'm open to having the Zios on. I'm fine with that. I want to hear what the Zios have to say. But I don't only want to hear what they have to say. I want a counterpoint. I don't want to be an echo chamber where it's just only Nick. And even Nick will say that. Nick's like, I listen to people on the left. Nick's like, I follow people on the left because I don't want to be in an echo chamber. They'd rock with Tucker, yeah, because he's been on. Yeah, Tucker's good, man. Tucker's good. It's just I'm in a weird place, man. I like Tucker. He's great. Still one of the best orators out there, but you can see I'm going younger. I'm going with the younger cats. You could have, if you want to do Zio, Aiden Ross, Rumble came up and rolled up with a bag for Aiden Ross. I think a bag of like $100 million for 2 years is what I heard for Rumble. Yeah, that's crazy. After he won that bet on Trump, too. So they're talking about the text messages here, the receipts. Remember, Dilbert's entered the chat. The next two arrive on Wednesday after Gaetz went on Tucker and revealed David McGee's name to the world. There's all these text messages. There's a lot to unpack here. To his credit, the whole thing was sketchy as hell to Scott Adams, so he took it upon himself to release Novak's messages. The Israeli consulate immediately distanced themselves from Novak's messages, but he was not fired or disciplined. Part 4, the wrap-up. Joel Greenberg's pled guilty to sex trafficking, identity fraud, wire fraud, and a host of other charges. 2021, he was sentenced to 11 years in prison, with 10 of those coming from the mandatory minimum imposed by the trafficking. The DOJ did not close its case against Matt Gaetz until 2022. They never publicly acknowledged why he was not charged, although it becomes fairly obvious once you learn that Joel Greenberg had produced fake IDs for the underage girls in girl. It was just one girl in question. How can you convict somebody of statutory when this woman was using a real state of Florida driver's license to present as being of age? And there's more to it than that, even. She broke it down. So this is when the Twitter threads get kind of weird. I think once you hit a max, you have to do it in a different way. So let me continue on here. But of course, because it's swamp, that's not where Matt's troubles ended. The snakes in D.C. were going to milk that investigation for all it's worth. Kind of like a wrap-up smear. Even though the investigation didn't fruit anything, Matt didn't technically do anything wrong. Even though he was allegedly partying it up, they wanted to use it to go after him. And that's when McCarthy got involved. So the snakes in D.C. were going to milk that investigation for all it's worth, and when Gaetz went for McCarthy during the speaker fight, McCarthy and his allies plotted carefully to get their revenge. We saw the accumulation of that plot on full display today. There's still lots of unanswered questions. Who's the we that Novak referenced in text to Scott Adams? Who leaked the info about Gaetz to Bob Kent? Was Joel Greenberg running the honeypot scheme? If so, for who? Sure would be nice to get an attorney general in office who would actually give a damn about answering any of those questions. This is the question. Who investigates the investigators? And that's the end of the thread. Just unbelievable. Support Mel. Mel has the Buy Me a Coffee. It is buymeacoffee.com, and the backslash is it's her handle. It is Village with no A. So let me spell it out. VILLGECRAZYLADY. Village Crazy Lady. There's no A in the first Village, all one word. From Buy Me a Coffee. Somebody buy her a coffee. I sub up to her. I should get her. At least we can get her Starbucks. Come on now. Ray says we have to do our yearly political compass test. Yeah, we'll schedule that. Yeah, we'll see how it is. It's funny. I was just thinking about that. I don't know why. I don't know if somebody brought it up. You see the memes of it sometimes online. I think somebody had brought it up. The only other topic on my mind is there's a lot of other topics, but I gotta get out this, the Nancy Mace stuff. And I just have to just say, y'all, the story is basically there's this transgender, which is a biological man who basically dresses up as a woman every day. And that's fine if that's what you want to do. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. But that person won for Delaware, I believe it is, congressional seat. And I want to talk about this from the standpoint of Nancy Mace making a big deal about it. And you might have heard this is bubbled up with Nancy Mace making all these comments. We don't want penises in bathrooms and stuff like that. So this Sarah McBride is a transformer, basically man presenting as a woman daily. And they're going to work in the Capitol. And Nancy Mace, to my knowledge, just out of the blue, I don't think the transformer Sarah McBride brought it up. I think Nancy Mace brought it up as, I don't want you in the bathroom with me kind of stuff. And I just think this is as World War III's popping off, basically, and chaos throughout the world. We've got a lot of stuff going on just in D.C. with American politicians. In North Carolina, after the national disaster, we have people who are literally living in tents outside in the cold. And you're talking about what bathroom people are going to use? Nancy Mace did a bill that only applies to the House. It's a House resolution. This isn't a piece of legislation for the whole country. Not that I would want it. This isn't the House and the Senate. It's just the House rules. Basically, the House is a club, and it's just club rules. Who uses what bathroom? This bubbled up to a public debate, and I don't understand why. You tell me, do you care who uses what bathroom in the Capitol? We're only talking about the Capitol, not your local bathroom, not your local community, not your state, not anywhere else other than the Capitol, and only the House. I couldn't care less who uses what bathroom. Every office in the House has its own bathroom. I don't even know why we're talking about this. Figure it out and deal with it. It shouldn't even reach the public specter. I don't want to hear about it. I don't care. It's embarrassing that you're even talking about it. Nancy Mace triggers me. This is a woman 3 years ago who co-signed a bill that literally in the bill said, and I forget exactly where, I think it's just on federal property. On federal property, basically the opposite of what she kind of wants to do or is talking about doing, allowing men to use women's restrooms 3 years ago. I haven't fleshed out, anybody can change their politics. She hasn't fleshed that change out to me. She hasn't explained it to me. It's coming across as fake. She's just morphing into whatever she needs to be at the moment. She's a clown. She's the one that got up and spoke about how her fiance at the time wanted sex on a public speech. She's the one who did the fake debate. You know, you go on CNN, you do the fake debate, and it was in my opinion, fake debate with Michael Eric Dyson. I don't think she had a boyfriend at that. I think the fiance, whatever, I think it fell apart by then. She's not married now. I don't think she's with that dude. So at that time, I think she was single. And Michael Eric Dyson texted her, tried to holler at her. He's like, okay, I'm just paraphrasing. We had that debate, and he's like, you look kind of hot. He didn't say it like that, but you knew he was trying to slide in. That's fine. He texted her. She didn't want it. That's fine. She didn't want to meet up with him or whatever. That's fine. She brought it up in a congressional hearing. She's a full-blown clown. Why is she bringing up text messages from a bar trying to holler at her in a congressional meeting? And then she had the moment when she was on with George Stephanopoulos, and they asked her, how can you support Trump when he raped a woman? And her answer is like, I'm a rape victim. How could you ask me that? What does that have to do with anything? That makes the question even more pertinent. The answer is those allegations aren't credible, George. That's why. She's just a full-blown, untrustworthy buffoon. She's a straight-up, she is the perfect reason or the perfect example of why I say women shouldn't be in politics. 99.9% of women have no business in politics. She is an embarrassment to American politics. One of the worst representatives in D.C. right now. And people might say, well, everybody, I've been crashing out on her. I am tired of her. This is all building up, story after story after story, and there's other little stuff too. And people say, well, are you for men in women's bathrooms? That is a local issue. If you are in LA, and Los Angeles wants to allow men in women's bathrooms, I don't care. If LA wants to pass a local ordinance that says all businesses have to allow men in women's bathrooms, I don't care. If you don't like it, move. The federal government should not be involved. Who is stupid enough to say, I want the federal government to police our bathrooms? That doesn't make any sense. It's not a federal issue. Why do we have Congress people talking about it? If you want to talk about men and women's sports, that could be more of a federal thing. Let's just talk about the bathroom and the locker room. That's a local issue. And even the men and women's sports should be a local issue. It should be up to the organizations, I think, too. But see, the problem is you've done all these civil liberties things. So if you do one civil liberty, then of course you can protect the fat, you can protect the black, you can protect whatever, the stupid, the retarded, like Fettermans. You can protect the Fettermans. You can protect the formerly fat Lizzos. You can protect anybody except Whitey. And that's where we're going is federally, we already have these civil protections. So let's add on men in a dress. Where does it stop? That should be handled at the local level. And you get to choose where you live. So if you're in some red area or more based area, they're going to say, hell no. I don't know how you police it either way. Men can run into a women's bathroom as it stands now. But if you're in that area and you want to do it, I'm perfectly fine with it. Why are we talking about it at the federal level? That's a problem. We have federal issues to talk about. Why are we sending long-range missiles to Ukraine as a lame duck president? Why is that happening? While that's happening, you're talking about who gets to pee where. Who pees and poos where. That's what you're trying to sell to me. And she won't stop talking about it. She's still tweeting about it. People were asking me, why am I still talking about it? Why is she still talking about it? I don't understand this. They asked me, why are you talking about the Jews? Why are they talking about the Jews? Why is it on me? It's not like nobody's talking about it and I'm the only one talking about it. Same with the bathroom stuff. I'll stop talking about it when she stops talking about it. How about that? I'll stop talking about the Jews. I'll start talking about Zionists in Israel when they stop talking about Zionism in Israel. Jordan Lott, what's up? I didn't see that, so maybe I missed something. Steve Johnson said, didn't McBride publicly issue a call to arms over this? Here's my takeaway on this is, and I'll be out, is I don't know if I'll have to look that up. I didn't see that. But at the end, I saw Sarah McBride, who is the Transformer, won the political battle. Sarah McBride said, I'll go in the men's bathroom. I'm fine with that. So then what is all this all about? Mike Johnson said men have to use the men's bathroom if you're a biological man. And Sarah McBride was like, bet, I'm fine with that. I came here to work for Delaware. And it to me, own Nancy Mace completely. Yeah, and you should be there to work for the people of your district, not argue about who uses the bathroom in the Capitol. And then Fetterman jumped in. Fetterman said to Sarah McBride, you can use my bathroom anytime. So we had a literal retard. And I'm not saying that to be edgy or disrespectful. What word do you want to say? Brain dead? Whatever you want to say. It's not a joke. His brain does not work. So you have a senator whose brain doesn't work making an offer to a man who dresses up as a woman every day that he could use his office bathroom when that man who dresses up as a woman every day already has their own private bathroom. And now already said, I'll use the men's bathroom anyway. While bombs are flying, did Russia, anybody find out, did Russia really use ICBM? I don't know. This is the second time I'm hearing the rumors that they have over the last few years, and I've not got confirmation. Basically, if they were, that's basically, you can put a nuke on them, and basically, that's their warning. Next time there's a nuke on it. That's their warning if they really did that. And we're arguing, we have a retard of a senator offering a cosplaying woman, a man cosplaying as a woman, to use his bathroom. What? What are we doing, man? I don't know what we're doing. They all have their own bathrooms anyway. What are we talking about? I know the gender issue is hot, and I'm on your side if you're like, we shouldn't be doing that. But at the same point, I don't like laws that you can't enforce. How do you enforce that law? Are we putting cameras in front of every bathroom, or what are we doing? Men can run into a bathroom now. So what is that? What does that change, really? So do you want a man that's fully made up with long hair that looks like an ugly woman run in the urinal next to you? That's awkward too. I don't know what the answer is. I think the answer is just leave it up to the local areas. That's the answer. And really what it comes down to is it's basically coming down to a don't ask, don't tell. And I don't have a problem with that, with the famous Clinton in the military. Clinton was like, don't ask somebody if they're gay, and don't tell somebody if you're gay. What was wrong with that? I didn't have a problem with that. Who cares? I mean, you can have speculations, you can tell, whatever. But I like that. So basically, it comes down to me for the bathroom issue. Nobody's checking if Michelle Obama goes into the bathroom at the Capitol. What are we doing? Do you know for 100% that she's a woman? I don't know. Are you volunteering to check? Who's the you? Anybody who says there should be a law against men using a women's bathroom. How are we checking that? Are we doing the DNA on the children? What are we doing? Are we looking for the package? What are we doing? I'm not involved with that. So just to be clear, I'm out of that bit. I'm not in that business. Never was. So I don't know what the answer is to that. But to me, it seems like it's a pass or not. Can Sarah McBride walk in and pass and not cause a shock? Basically what it comes down to. If you're Jeffrey Marsh, you probably don't fit in the woman's bathroom because you look like a serial unliver. You look like a lunatic. So you based on the way you look, you should go to the men's room. That's basically what it comes down to me. I don't know if there's a better answer than that. But I just wanted to rant on that. I'll do a little bit more on that Mel story, man, because there's a lot that she didn't even, because it's a Twitter thread. She did a great job with it. But like she said, there's like other branches off of it you can do. And maybe a better, I want to kind of put it in my program and say, wait, let's break this part down. We'll see if I'm able to do that. But I haven't read it yet. I literally just opened it up, Mike. I have not read it yet. I saw the trailer. I literally, early in this live, just opened it up. I got the shirts. It's still in the wrapping. I didn't get more than one book for this one because I got so many books right now. And then I got a couple shirts, so you'll see me rock those. But I'm out, y'all. Peace. Appreciate y'all.